When you got the blues, you got nothing to lose.
Turn on Carl Zeus and that CNN News.
Around the world, what's going on? Around the world, what's going on?
We just want to know what's happening.
We're just trying to be a good citizen.
Around the world, what's going on? Around the world, what's going on?
Take it, Carl.
I certainly will. Thank you for that excellent introduction. As CNN Student News wraps up the week, our first report today is on Syria. Aid groups have been asking for permission to bring food, medicine, and supplies to victims of violence in Syria. And yesterday they got that permission. As Syrian government forces moved into the Baba Amr neighborhood in Homs, aid groups were allowed in too. The city of Homs is in the western part of Syria. It's been a base for activists fighting against the Syrian military. And it's been the target of artillery attacks for weeks. You can see some of the damage from this YouTube video. These forces fighting the government said they left the city so that the aid could get to the civilians there. Well, what you're looking at here is what was left behind when a massive tornado ripped through the city of Harrisburg, Illinois. We first reported on this yesterday, and Don Lemon talked to one survivor about his experience living through this natural disaster.
You just look at this and wonder how you ever got out. A bedroom on this side, a bedroom on that side completely destroyed, and the bathroom right there in the middle, and that's where I was. And how the bathroom got left good enough for me to survive, only God knows.
So when you ran out, you had to come around on the street?
Yes, I came out that bathroom door that's facing on that side. You can see where I busted it to get out. And I crawled over all this stuff and came out to here hollering for anybody.
When they started coming out one by one, were you like, oh, thank God?
Yes, yeah, tears of joy.
The tornado in Harrisburg had winds up to 180 miles per hour. Chad Myers compares what it looks like before and after this kind of twister hits.
From this perspective, we're turning you around so that you look from the northeast. There are the homes that are all built, homes here. Now let me take you to what the aerial pictures of that exact image looks like. That's what that neighborhood looks like right now from the helicopter from yesterday. The shot coming through the bowling ball, that tornado right on through from the west to the east. And now one more shot, Sean. We're going to take you over here to where Don Lemon is standing right there. There's the strip mall before the tornado. Almost looks like a little bit of a landing strip like an airport. That's what that strip mall looks like right now.
The results are in from a political contest out west, the Wyoming Republican presidential caucuses. These caucus meetings went on all through February. Former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney came away with the most votes. But because of the rules in Wyoming, all of the candidates won delegates in this contest. That's the goal in these caucuses and primaries, to win delegates. And next Tuesday, there are more than 400 delegates up for grabs. It's called Super Tuesday, when 10 states hold elections. So look out for more on that next week.
Is this legit? There are more women than men living in the United States. Totally true. According to the latest U.S. Census information, women outnumber men by about 5 million.
We're looking at more numbers for today's Women's History Month coverage. First, we want to mention the Salisbury High Hornets in North Carolina, because one of them got our social media question, which was related to Women's History Month. All right, already told you that women outnumber men in the United States. That's based on the census that was taken in 2010. But the total female population is 157 million. Of those women who are 25 years old and older, more than 30 million of them have a college degree. That's a little higher than the corresponding group of men. Going back a little further to 2007, there were 7.8 million American businesses owned by women. Those companies employed 7.5 million people, and they made more than $1 trillion in revenue.
Today's shout out goes out to Mrs. Navarro's Science and Social Studies class at Berkmar Middle School in Lilburn, Georgia. What field does an angler work in? Here we go. Is it geometry, land surveying, billiards, or fishing? You've got 3 seconds. Go. An angler is someone who uses a hook and line to fish. That's your answer, and that's your shout out.
Well, most of you can head to a nearby lake and do some angling, but the fishermen who work on boats off of Cape Cod, Massachusetts, need to cast a wide net for their catch. Some officials are concerned about how those net results are affecting the fish population. David Ariosto looks at the debate.
Federal regulators are now contemplating what for generations seemed inconceivable: shutting down or heavily restricting cod fishing in the Gulf of Maine. A recent federal assessment concluded the fish population was far lower than experts had thought. Just 3 years earlier, the government had said the region was well on its way to recovery from decades of overfishing. Now, officials are saying that forecast was wrong. For these fishermen, hundreds more like them, and the thousands who depend on their trade, tighter restrictions on their catch could cost them their jobs. So we've been cruising a little over 6 hours now through the Gulf of Maine, and this crew has netted about 100 pounds of fish, mostly flounder and cod. And the day is nearly half over. A successful day is more like 1,000 pounds of fish from what the guys tell me. So clearly there's a sense of frustration here along the boat as we try to make that final push and look for more fish.
The hunt is on.
But the fishermen say that this was just a bad day, that with fewer boats now and more restrictions, the sea is actually full of fish. Environmentalists reacting to the government's latest assessment say the industry should contract to safeguard the health of the fishery. But others say counting fish beneath the water is a murky science. Research boats run random samplings at sea, but because where fish swim is uncertain, the numbers they catch, like our own experience out on the water today, can vary.
It's really not much different than a weather report. I think we've all become accustomed to the weather report coming from data and a model, and we understand that the forecast may not be perfect.
Here in Gloucester, Massachusetts, cod is king, bringing in nearly $16 million a year for the regional economy, and even more when distribution sales are tallied. Others with roots here say some way must be found to both protect the ecosystem and keep fishermen working. David Ariosto, CNN, out at sea in the Gulf of Maine.
Update for you on our story about Barron Academy. It's an Orthodox Jewish school, and its basketball team was planning to forfeit its shot at a state title because the semifinal game was scheduled during the Sabbath, a religious observance. Yesterday, an announcement was made that the game would be rescheduled so that the team could play. Before that news broke, we asked what you thought about this story. Charlotte thinks the team had planned to do the right thing. Their religion will be important for the rest of their lives, while basketball is just a hobby. Trey agrees, saying religion over sports any day. Religion is a part of yourself and your beliefs. Cheris, or Charisse, respects them for keeping their faith, but argues there would have been no harm in making the game a one-time thing. Nathan thinks that if the team signed up for a tournament, they should deal with the schedule that was already set. From Hannah, everyone should stand up for their faith, and I'm glad even devoted basketball teams are too. And CV wrote, sports are played to teach daily lessons in life, and this is one of those lessons. Many faithful people realize that a true believer has to make sacrifices in order to show their commitment to their God. And before we go, political campaigns are sometimes called horse races, but this candidate brings another animal element to a contest in Virginia. Name is Hank, and he wants your vote. He's actually running for the U.S. Senate. Hank got a handful of votes when he ran for state Senate recently, so his owner and campaign manager decided Hank was destined for higher office. He has a political platform, even if it's just a scratching post. His main focus, keeping the streets clean, figures that a cat would be most concerned with litter. Maybe one day he'll run for president if he's feline up to it. Woo! All right, we've only scratched the surface of the potential for this story. Hope you have a great weekend. Bye-bye.